This is Patagonia, one of the last places on Earth that still feels completely untouched. And right here, near the small town of Trevelin in Argentina, life moves differently. Out here, horses aren't a luxury, they're a way of life. The gauchos have been riding these lands for generations, crossing rivers, herding cattle, navigating terrain that most people wouldn't even attempt on foot. And that's exactly what makes this place so special for horse riding. You're not just going on a ride, you're stepping into a culture that's been built around it. The horses here, mostly Gaucho horses, are known for being incredibly strong, calm, and smart. They're built for this kind of terrain. Steep mountains, wild valleys, unpredictable weather, they handle it like it's nothing. And when you're riding through landscapes like this, massive open valleys, river you actually cross on horseback, views that feel unreal, you start to understand why. This place is raw, it's real, and it pushes you a little bit out of your comfort zone in the best way possible. And that's why for me, this is one of the best places in the world to ride horses. So in this video, I'm taking you with me, deep into Patagonia. Okay, so I'm in Patagonia right now, and over the past few days I've been riding with gauchos in these insanely incredible wild landscapes. I really didn't expect it to be like this at all. It is so incredible, and tomorrow we're actually gonna go out for a full day ride, and we're gonna start really early in the morning. There's always something so magical about leaving early in the morning. Everything was still so quiet. And as we rode further out, it didn't take long before the landscape completely opened up. After a few hours, you start to realize that this isn't like riding anywhere else. This place just feels so wild and so untouched. As the ride continued, we went deeper into the mountains, crossing uneven ground, dry riverbeds, and narrow trails that have been shaped naturally over time. And eventually, after hours of riding, we reached a remote lagoon hidden between the mountains. That's where we stopped for lunch. After that break, we kept going, climbing higher into the mountains, riding through lenga forests that were turning deep red and orange. Especially in autumn, the colors here are unreal. And the higher you go, the more you feel how raw this place actually is. The viewpoint we eventually reached didn't disappoint and was the absolute highlight of this day's ride. Something I didn't really expect before coming here is how important the whole saddling process actually is. What does it mean for a gaucho to have his own saddle and no one touching it?
Everything. It's like the wife. You don't share wife around, no?
No.
It's the same. Each gaucho has each saddle, so you don't have to be like fixing it around. Like the adjustment is the same one as you always have, and make everything so much easier and nicer.
So I have been using a new camera on this trip, and this might have been the easiest way I ever captured cinematic content. This is the DJI Osmo Pocket 4, and what I love most is that it literally fits right into my pocket. I can just pull it out anytime something beautiful happens, and it instantly feels like I'm shooting something way more professional than I actually am. The image quality is insane for something this small. It has a 1-inch sensor with 14 stops of dynamic range, which basically means it captures so much more detail in both the highlights and the shadows. So sunset, mountains, bright skies, everything just looks exactly how it felt like in real life. And low light is where it really surprised me. Normally I hate shooting at night, but this actually keeps everything clean and detailed, even in darker scenes like sunset at the beach. This is the low light function, and look how much you can still see. This is incredible. What also makes a big difference is the built-in gimbal and active track. I can literally just double tap myself or a subject and it follows perfectly without shaking, even when I'm moving. And if you're into storytelling, the slow motion is absolutely next level. It shoots 4K at 240 frames per second, so you can capture those small moments in a really cinematic way without needing any crazy gear. For me, this is something that I've been missing. Something that doesn't feel heavy or complicated, but still creates content that actually looks like a film. So I would say this is not a camera, this simply just makes you want to capture more of life, and I think that's what this is all about. So check out the link in my description to check it out, and for now, let's go back to the video. We are about to go for a horseback ride here and I'm so excited. And one thing that is actually really interesting in the Gaucho culture is that their way of saddling is so important, and every Gaucho has their own saddle. It's kind of like having your own wife or your own husband. You literally do not share it with anyone. It's super important here. So I got my own saddle here and I'm really happy with it. Here you can see the saddle that I'm going to use for all of these days, and it's actually super pretty, and I love how thick this padding is. It's really good for the horse, and also it is more high here, so that means I am more stuck in the saddle, so I'm not moving around too much, so that's really nice. So I'm riding a mix with a quarter and criollo, and we just left, and it's just so incredible because look at the views that are here. It's endless. It's open fields. In the back there we have the vacas, the cows, and I think we have maybe like 6 dogs with us, even like the small puppy here. They're gonna all follow us for the ride, which is super normal here, that like all the dogs come along, even if it's for a ride of like 8 hours. They come, they work, and they just stay like really close to the horses. Here you can see it. They're like behind or next to it, or you have a few ones that go completely in the front, like Minino there, which is your dog.
Yeah, the one is taking a shit now.
Yeah. We just left, and it's actually really cute because you can see how excited they get. For me it took a while to realize, because I was a bit confused why they would be in the beginning like walking fast and so excited, but look at the ears as well. They're like really excited to go out, which is just the cutest thing ever. And here we are walking straight in the cows, but the dogs, look, the dogs are chasing them away like they normally do. Wow, this river is so clear, the water is just incredibly beautiful. Look at this. Wow. This is one thing that I really love about Patagonia as well, is that there are so many rivers and so much water to cross. Look at this. Wow. It is so beautiful. And you also need some skill to dodge all the sticks that are here. So hopefully you don't get scratches. We go there?
Yeah.
Let's see. This is gonna be an adventure. What are the risks here?
Do you wanna take this one first?
Why? You think it can be really deep?
Yeah.
Okay. She knows. It is?
Yeah.
She's like,
what?
no.
Doesn't want.
Always listen to the horse. Oh, this is really cool with the broken down trees. Wow. And being out here like this on a horseback, working with the cows, there's a certain peace that falls over you that's really hard to explain. You're so far away from everything that usually fills your day. The noise, the rush, the normal stuff, you almost all forget about it. Because out here, this starts to feel normal. And honestly, it feels way closer to how we are supposed to be living than anything I've ever felt before in my life. At different points during these weeks, I got to spend time with a few of the gauchos out here, Tommy, José Luis and Tejo. These are the people who actually live this life every single day. And what stood out to me isn't just how skilled they are on horseback, it's the way they see things. There's a certain calmness to them, a way of moving through the land that feels very certain. They don't rush, they trust their horses, they read the terrain, and they just know what they're doing. And a lot of that comes from experience, but also from a way of life that's been passed down for generations. You can feel that this is something they grew up with. And being around that, even just for a few days, you start to understand that this isn't just about riding as an activity. It's a culture and it's a completely different way of living. One thing that I love so much here is that when you are riding horses, it's literally so incredibly beautiful because all the trails here are extremely different. You have incredibly high mountain peaks where you have a view of snow-capped mountain peaks, or you have trails where it literally feels like you're in Utah in USA and you have the red rocks, and then there are these open landscapes where it's just flat and you have the most beautiful views. Sometimes you even get to see wild horses, which is just so special. And then there are times where you're crossing super dense river beddings and where you can walk through a lake, and it's just incredible how much diversity there here is. And I think that is what makes horse riding in Patagonia so special. Plus also the horses are incredibly strong. I love how strong they are and how well they are built. You can literally see that they are insanely strong and that they can carry and handle a lot. Plus the saddle is super comfortable to ride. So that is why we will be doing a crazy amount of horseback riding here, because in my opinion I think it's the best way to experience Patagonia on horseback. So I guess that is what we are gonna do a lot in these upcoming days, and I cannot wait to do it. And I think that's what makes horseback riding in Patagonia so different. It's not just one place, it's not just one ride, it's everything combined. The landscapes, the horses, the people, and the feeling of being completely out there. And once you've experienced that, it's really hard to compare it to anything else.